So, in after the video, it kind of ended abruptly. Well, rather, there was cutoffs, and I like to flow. I like to have things flowing and flowing and flowing. I could talk for like a long time, especially about things that actually are very interesting, like this. Like astrology is actually interesting, and it's not just facts. It's not just esoteric. It's not just any of that stuff. It's actually, for me, I believe that there's something out there that we don't know about yet, and astrology has, astrology has been around for like over 3,000 years. So, yeah, granted, the older type of astrology was a little different, but still, it's the same purpose. It's a message and guidance from our source. You know, okay. For those who know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. In any case, so this is going to be about the little bit about series in this person's chart. Um, what else? What did we have here? Okay, so we have here series on the retrograde. This is the part I didn't record. So as usual, I use my little markup little thing, and so this is series on her chart. It was in Aries. So Ceres in retrograde is, as you already know, Ceres is about nurturing. It's about how do you call this? Ceres is it's not just nurture. It's more like the physical nurture, not just emotional nurture, but actual physical nurturing. So I have some notes that I actually wrote here about. I'm just going to read them to you. So Ceres is Ceres here. Okay, so Ceres is unconditional love. Okay, so yes, nurture, appreciation, self-respect, self-nurture, the parent-child self. Which one do you nurture? Which one actually gives and takes? But in this case, it's both, right? Ceres was Demeter in Greek mythology. She was the child. She was the mother of Persephone. Persephone was taken and raped by Hades, and that's symbolism for something. It's always, there's always something there, and so there's always that the loss gain sort of balance. When your seasons come, when it's the warmer seasons, like I believe spring and summer, that's when she's with her daughter Persephone. But when it's fall winter, it's time for Persephone to go back to the underworld, basically. So Ceres is also a reverence for nature, wholesomeness. What I mean by wholesomeness is like that whole like accepting that there are gains and losses. Natural abilities, I feel like that's Ceres as well. Beginning again, starting over. That's new. It's like a reset sort of thing. Renewals, separation, losses, natural, and so separation or losses and returns and gains. Sustenance, nourishment, food, emotional support, guidance, company or accompaniment, caregiving, livelihood, rations, income, salaries, money, necessities, upkeep. What goes up must come down, and vice versa. Subsistence, physical cycles, rhythm, production and reproduction, incest. For some reason, someone mentioned that in a website. I totally forgot what it was. But nurturing balance, right? What to give, when to give it, when to get it, right? What to get, when to get it. And of course, the inner child and the inner parent. Okay. So it also was in one video they talked about, apparently it's also epigenetics. So in this case, we have Ceres here, 5 degrees, Aries, and I usually tend to want to look at the squares, any square aspects to Ceres, then there would be, but I didn't see any. If you look here, there's no 5 degrees in a cardinal sign like Cancer. There's none on Capricorn. Lilith, this is Lilith, the asteroid Lilith, in Libra. So it's basically an opposition, both to Eris actually, right here, and also Ceres. Uh, Technically, Ceres and Eris here are actually in conjunction, but it's kind of very far conjunction, but still, it's 10 degrees, 9 degrees approximately. 9 degrees-ish, yeah, 9 to 10, so it's still kind of typically acceptable between two planets of that distance. So, um, here, I guess you can say that because it's in the 12th house, it's a lot to do with inner strength, things that are kept hidden, okay? Things that are, sorry, I'm just going to circle that again so you see it. Okay, in Aries, things that are kept hidden, things that are, I mean, I'm talking about the 12th house. So the 12th house here is, let me go back here, 12th house. Okay, so inner strength, weaknesses, behind the scenes stuff, clandestine activities or affairs, restorative, solitude, quiet places, sorrow, handicap, secrets, seclusions, frustrations, confinements like hospitals, mental institutions, secret enemies, restraints, inhibitions, hidden danger. So basically, the hidden, subjective self-sustainment, inner conscious or the subconscious, charity, sympathy, public welfare, ignore problems too painful to acknowledge or face, creative ideas, very creative ideas, aptitude for art, music, dancing, etc. Okay, so basically it's Neptune stuff, right? So with the hidden stuff that probably this person has is Ceres there, it's almost like they've forgotten to nurture themselves. They've forgotten to be their own inner child or be their own inner parent because they're helping other people. They are, balancing that with this need for. It's funny because you have here, yes, a conjunction right here, but you also have here, right here, with Lilith. So Eris and Ceres are actually both in conjunction, but they're also opposite of Lilith. So Lilith is the main point that's kind of pulling at it. It's kind of Lilith is the focus on individuality, focus on being not falling into not conforming. Sorry, not conforming to the status quo, societal expectations, the conditioned mind, all those things, the society, she wanted to be free, the stereotypes, she wanted to get away from the labels and stereotypes. That's Lilith. So that feminine energy, specifically like that whole because it is feminine, it's like meant to be, subjugated and controlled and all that stuff. But really, it's been misunderstood for such a long time that feminine energy is like, oh, it's weak, and all that stuff. It's not. Okay, so so what's that trying to do is release that and say fuck that. It's just this whole thing. It's just it's an inner strength, right? And that kind of ties into the 12th house stuff, where Lilith here is concerned. She's pulling at the whole self-nurturing inner parent and individuality and uniqueness and being your own self and being your own boss, being your own spouse, being your own parent, being your own child, ties into how they pull into that. But also Eris is like that. Eris is the rebellion against it's a subtle rebellion. Eris, as we all know, you've seen in some videos, probably if you take a look at some videos, Eris is the goddess of strife, goddess of discord, goddess of retribution. She was the one who, gave the apple to Aphrodite because she wasn't invited to the party. She felt left out. It was a party or something like a banquet or something, someone's wedding. I forgot what it was, but she was not invited because she was like this shit stirrer. She was the rule breaker. She was she didn't care for anybody opinions and all that stuff. So it ties in with independence. It ties in with that whole uniqueness of being oneself and finding your own place in the world without having to succumb to anybody's wishes or desires or expectations or what have you, right? So in Eris there is its conjunction with that. So but you have to kind of find a balance between the two planets and Lilith here to see that, okay, find your own place in relationships, because it is Libra. Find your own relationship, specifically in the workplace or the unconscious mind. It's the opposite of the 12th house. So the 6th house. Sorry, I'm gonna put that here. Is your health, your habits, employment, employees, tenants. So servitude, any form of servitude, any position of servitude, service itself, routine, methodologies, methods, routine, habits. Those kind of things that just repeat, 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 repeat. And also hygiene, so so yeah, the unconscious mind versus the subconscious mind. So in this case, its 6th house and the 12th house are connected, where this person has to be more come into awareness of their own position and purpose and direction, to not only self-nurture but to how do you call this? To self-balance. Okay? Versus balance, but also to find that inner power. You have your Pluto affecting conjunction to Lilith. So Pluto brings out the truth in that Lilith sort of thing. It's not just the truth itself, but the kind of like, is this the truth? Is this the truth? Is this really? Do you need more labels over another? So Pluto is kind of pulling it to the side and saying, okay, let's work together while you do your thing with Eris and Ceres, okay? And it's saying, okay, let's bring out the shit, and let's bring out the disease, and let's heal you by making you sick, just like Eris would. Eris is a Plutonian type of planet, so it's out there. Or I would say trans-Neptunian, Plutonian sort of thing, where you transcend, you transform. Eris is about transforming things or regenerating. It's not really about regeneration. It's not about the disease or illness. It's not about those kind of things like viruses, bacteria, and all that stuff. That is Plutonian, but it's more about creating that chaos so that way it creates balance. So in a way, it's very Plutonian. It's bringing out the truth. It's transcendence. It's beyond that, beyond what the psyche we think. Is this real? Is this real? Is this real? Yeah. So Eris brings that out, and she's the one that goes. What did I put here for Eris? Chaos, order, challenge of logic, retribution. So the words I came up here is like, because of ostracization, to finding your own confidence, and like that whole, it's your, I guess you can say that it's your absolute truth in the 3D world, to show that it's like, okay, this is what I know, this is my truth. So instead of being your truth, let's make it my truth, and you have your, agree to disagree. It's so Libra, right? Agree to disagree, right? So I put some words here that I made up. So this pretension, or this pretense, it's not a word, okay? Fomenting of truth, fomenting of chaos to bring it to balance, to bring it to harmony, right? I actually came up with this today, and was just like, oh, non-binary. The timing of Eris is coming out. This is this time that there's this non-binary, this identification of, well, it's another identification, but it's disidentification from the old and into the new, but in this case, specifically from and making it right. So non-binary, because Eris is about unifying through disunifying, because it's like, this is what you did, this is what happened, so what's happened. She's also, it's irony. She's also about irony. She's also about sardonicism, satire, mockery, derision. But those aren't negative things per se, but it's more like they are needed. Just like when we have criminals, this is Plutonian, right? So that sometimes you need to be the catalyst of death and destruction so that people will wake up. Pluto does that, but Pluto brings about the truth, but in that regard, it's about the higher vibration of Mars, because Mars is about war, vengeance, well, yes, but action, anger, fighting, war. So Pluto goes deeper in its higher vibration of that, and saying, you can be the catalyst for that truth. It might be painful, it might be traumatic. You need the trauma to be your friend, your shadow. So in a way, Aries is also looking at your shadow in a way where it's about relationships, about what is disharmony? What is harmony? Is this what it is? Is this what you think is supposed to bring you peace? Is this what you think is supposed to be? Should you just be on the sidelines, not do anything or not say anything? But in this case, your Eris is that quiet fighter, the quiet instigator of chaos, the instigator of war between people. She's the one that goes, here's the bait, here's the bait, here's the thing. Okay, you want to do this? Go ahead. So she's like the tester. She's the harbinger of dividedness, so that we truly understand what. Because without the opposite, you cannot do this. This is so Plutonian. It's a shadow. Without dividedness, you don't know what unification is. Without inequality, you don't know what equality is. Okay, so again, it's very Plutonian. So the Eris is that whole thing. It's like, again, it's detaching from labels, delabelizing, non-duality. Okay, non-duality, but basically creating chaos so that there is harmony. Seek and ye shall find. Right, the golden rule. So it is retribution. It is disharmony. It is discord. It is all that stuff being tested. It's really the core of Eris is like that tester, all that stuff. So, but in any case, all right. I think this one's okay. This one's showing up right. Okay. I hope it's still recording. Okay. So, anyways, so yeah. So Eris is a tester. She's the one that like pushes. That's Eris. So in this case, what we need to for this person to find is to find that individuality of oneself and the truth behind it right here in Pluto, and balance that with your health. So you're finding your own ways of healing, finding your own ways of working through things in servitude, so that way you can be of completion. You find yourself going full circle in this 12th house thing. So that way it's not, your subconscious is clear, right? Because now you're saying, okay, Ceres and Eris are now working together so that you can self-nurture yourself. You have to basically test your inner self, that self-serve inner thing. You have to be able to probe yourself and see where should I have my limits? Where should I not have my limits? Where should I be of a parent? Where should I be of a child? Right? So it's like, it's a combination of Eris Ceres. It's like that whole, like, even epigenetics is related here, of course. It's like what you put in your subconscious, what you find. It's like if you have an unconscious behavior, that's very 6th house, right? If you have an unconscious behavior of just watching something, this and then it goes on repeat, eventually and sooner or later, or usually, if it's something negative that you stir in you put in your mind, what you absorb, it goes into the subconscious, and this is what becomes that belief that your inner child, your inner parent are out of balance, that you deserve nurturing, so you compensate for that, or you even like you have worries, you have anxieties about it, and it's just just like lodged in the fucking like a subconscious, and therefore you do more unconscious things, right? So anyone who's had similar placements, you know what you have to work through this. So Eris awakens your inner child and your inner parent so that you feel more complete. But this is an inner work. It's in retrograde. You can see that right here. I'm gonna circle that again. There's that retrograde thing right there. Yeah. So retrograde is an inner work. It's repeating itself because you're not acknowledging it, or it's lodged in the subconscious. So you have to make it conscious. So you have to be aware of that stuff. So otherwise, it just end up being in your dreams, or again subconscious. It just repeats itself. It's like retrogrades are basically like lessons that repeat themselves until we get it, and the retrograde no longer has that much of an effect. And that's when we would truly change. Right. So, anyways, that was the added stuff from the videos that we didn't do. Series can be trying. No. I don't think so. No. No, there's nothing. No. I thought it was going to be trying to her Mars, North Node, and Jupiter here. Nope, but it's not. It's not trying. It's actually quincunx, technically. Quincunx is all about adaptation, but adaptation in this case is to try to find what issues you have or any sort of concerns you have or experiences you have with your inner child, inner parent, and yeah, specifically Ceres here. Okay, and finding that sort of like when it's adaptation, it's really more about it's about timing, right? So when should you work on that? When should you work on your inner strength and your inner child and your inner parenting? It's all about inner stuff, your inner work basically, to feel more at whole in communion with your your human self and your higher self, right? And when it comes to your North Node, because North Node is just like telling you to just be free, and it's more there's no retrograde here. Mars is not in retrograde, Jupiter is not in retrograde, so it's not inner work, so it's expression, it's full expression of Jupiter and Mars, and therefore, but we're talking specifically about North Node and Jupiter here. Well, it's still quincunx to Ceres. Yeah, it's still quincunx. Also, all three of these are still quincunx. Well, quincunx is a timing to when to be able to expand and grow and go for that and just go for that, especially with like fifth house stuff versus to do inner work. So outer work versus inner work. So outer work is the job you do, relationship with your inner yourself, your fun, the things you enjoy, children, of course, romantic relationship, and balancing that. It's still kind of a balance with your own inner child. When is it time to take care of yourself? So taking care of others versus taking care of yourself. That's what it's telling me here. That's adaptation. So, yeah, I think that's it. There is another smaller aspect from here to here, but it's not that important, to be honest. It's really squares. Squares are the ones I usually look for in a chart. If there's any squares, those are the ones that go whoosh, brings awareness, wakes us up. Right? We have here sextile, Aries sextile, potential for wisdom, Pallas Athena, right here. But the wisdom from your own experience with reputation in the 10th house here, your ego, and learning how to work with a healthier ego, so that way you come across it's not a it becomes less about the ego, more about our ego, a healthier ego that is in conjunct, so to speak, that is in communion with the rest of humanity. So to work with that balance and seeing, but at the same time seeing where you can sort of continue to probe at it and test it and seeing, oh, okay, is this the one? Is this the one? Like, so you become your own internal, like, retributor, so to speak. I don't know if that makes sense, but Eris is definitely sextile here. So you can use that as a potential energy to sort of like, it's a natural ability. But again, like I explained before, it's not like you're trying. Trying is definitely more natural. Sextile is like a potential natural ability. It's a potential harmonious aspect between planets. So you can find a way to work with that, and if you can, but because it's a 12th house, it takes a lot of processing, internal processing, because we're talking 12th house here, right? Working that with that energy with Pallas Athena in the 10th house. So when it's those things, so inner strength that you find when it comes to your own, not only ego but in reputation, but also 10th house, 12th house stuff. So inner work with let me make sure I get this right. So 10th house. Oh wait, oh, sorry. Yeah, with your own ambitions. So any sort of like employment that you have, career itself, okay. Profession, yeah, reputation, ego, like I said before, influence you exert in your own circles. So Eris, because Eris is a generational planet, doesn't mean that it doesn't affect you on a personal level. So yeah, achievement, success, yeah, of course. Any authority over you. Um, so the ability to dethrone or debalance, debalance, unbalance things, to put it out of place, bring chaos to uh, what what you think might be like previously learned abilities, like wisdom, or like in this case, because when you're having Eris and Pallas Athena together, it's almost like Pallas Athena is not just wisdom, but it's like it's learning from your own abilities, your natural abilities, like your what people have called your God-given abilities. So when you have the two together, it's almost like your own abilities becomes put in question. It's you know it's in front of the jury, and like they have to be judged and stuff like that. So okay, so Pallas Athena is about strategy. It's about link to the higher self, inner wisdom, inner knowledge. You just know. So your intuition, your instinct together, because that's Athena. She was a goddess of war, but she wasn't just for war like Ares. She was strategy. She was all about what is that. So it's inner strength, it's inner will, it's strong-willedness, as I put here. It's also gender balance. So it kind of ties in with that whole balance thing, with the unbalanced and balanced thing with Eris. Trying to balance, then, in this case, what you feel is your reputation, your ego, what success and achievements are with what your really inner strengths are. So kind of trying to figure out what is strength? Where does that come from? Is it from actually doing things? Is it from just being? Take into account stuff, right? It's definitely more balanced to more whole to get from download from inspiration from your higher self, but that can't be done necessarily through just action. In fact, it's less about doing, it's more about being. Okay. Skillful manipulation, defense out over offense. There you go. The defense over offense. So it ties in. Pallas Athena, it's in here, it's telling me that defense over offense is also about that thing. So being more in being versus doing. Right? Controlled strength on the underdog's capacity to unify, capacity to be one with, underlying connectedness, weaving, because she's connected, right? So she was also a goddess of weaving, right? So if you look at that, so here we need to weave our own patterns in life and figure out what do we need to disconnect and what do we need to connect. Most likely we need to connect with our higher selves, our true selves. It's not this form. But it is part of it. That should still be together, but not completely together. We just have to balance the two energies. So horizontal with the vertical. Vertical is your deep eye, as it's where you find yourself through silence, through moments of. It's really when you're connected. When you're not just getting inspiration, but when you are actually really listening. Right? Pallas Athena teaches us to listen, to connect. Eris tells us to throw away the old, throw away the status quo, throw away the fucking imbalance, and try to find the balance in the two and appreciating the dark and the light together. It is very, like I said, Plutonian. So there you go. I think that's about it. We did miss Juno here. But Juno is, I didn't write anything about Juno because I feel like she's still quite new for me. So Juno was the wife of Jupiter or Hera. She was about commitment and loyalty and long-term things that last. So anything that lasts. Being in Cancer, it's pretty much there, I would say. Um, but it's in the fourth house, so something to do with having a very committed, um, very probably a very serious like home, especially now that especially because 28 degrees. Actually, let's take a look before I say anything. 28 degrees. Okay, so trine to her sun. Okay, so that makes sense. That whole like we talked about this stellium right here on the seventh house, right? The seventh house right here. This stellium is about being individualistic and being able to express yourself, but because of the retrograde Mercury, it's like an inner sort of processing of thought and information and communication, self-transmission, understanding of oneself, and making sure you're saying the right thing, make sure you're expressing yourself right, and sort of there's doubts, but at the same time, time will come when it's just like a burst of energy, a burst of sudden change, Uranus, of expression of self and joy and vitality and your childlikeness, which is the sun, and your truth in Scorpio. Trines, this one is in trine aspect to Juno, so being able to commit to yourself and your relationship with other people, but working with your own inheritance, your ability to stay loyal, your ability to commit, your ability to go for the long haul, and actually see that you have this natural ability, But beware, because you have a trine there. Trine means that it's a comfortable ability, it's a comfortable skill, it's comfortable, it's all in harmony, right? You have this ability to work through relationship and keep at it, and if it's not working, but there comes a time when you have to, the universe brings you relationships that you can't handle, relationships that are not serious, relationships that are full of like, I don't know, they're not genuine, right? Because of the Scorpio thing, and they're not very, they're not very harmonious, they're not very friendly and kind and really genuinely kind, because Pluto here rules. Pluto rules the stellium right here, because Pluto is a ruling planet of Scorpio, right? So you have Libra here affecting this one, as like colors it, like we talked about. But be careful of that trine. So the thing that wakes you up is here. When you come into North Node, things that you're scared, or maybe things that you haven't come across yet, things that are telling you to go forward and find the courage and willpower to continue and go and find that optimism. Specifically with those romantic relationship in the fifth house, maybe relationships that even children probably will test you. The children will be like, I don't know if this is the right thing. Yeah. So because of the trine there, to be able to commit to what you do and being able to be there and be open and help and be humanitarian towards it's because of that ability to relationships, any relationship, really, any contract, any agreement, any sort of marriage or actual marriage, it will get tested by this sort of like leap of faith. This is a leap of faith thing right here. Your North Node, especially when it's scared, it's like all of a sudden it breaks and you're like, oh, should I stay here? Should I stay here? So probably the one we were talking about when it comes to your job, maybe you should continue that and see where it goes from there. But at the same time, is it really giving you joy? Is it really giving you the heart? Is it really making you really, really connected? It's not here connected. It's really intuition connected. It's like higher. So, I probably should go into more like any trines here. 18 degrees. Okay. Okay. Remember how we talked about how there's your right here to right here? This little connection here between Pallas Athena, ascendant, descendant. Well, there's also Pallas Athena, trine, square, Chiron, Chiron opposition to Scorpio, to Uranus, and Uranus square to Pallas Athena. This challenge is like a, I forgot what it's called. It's a T square. T squares are basically, I didn't mention this earlier, but T squares are actually a time for not only balance but integration of this thing I was trying to tell you, that there's that wisdom you get when we listen, when we actually hone our quietness and stillness and all that stuff, because that is strategy. That's still strategy. There's an inner battle. There's an inner battle between sudden changes in relationships, unexpected changes, the unexpected, the unknown, the crazy chaos that's going on, with the balance between that chaos and then your woundedness from childhood, or probably even just your physical body, probably even like how you probably still relate with others, and how you perceive your own physical self, right? So with Chiron there, it's Chiron saying, work with that woundedness, listen to me, I will guide you through your pain. I will carry your pain for you when you just allow for it, just sit with it, be with it, right? And that way you're ready for the changes. So that way you can balance those changes, but at the same time, know that even though the square is telling me that even though you get these wisdoms, sometimes you may kind of wonder, is it really wisdom? Or is it sort of, I don't know where the wisdom is coming from. So there's not only maybe possible doubt, but conflict, where you get challenged to get wisdom from your own reputation, from your own ego, your experiences with your own successes, and say, what wisdom am I getting from this? Is there a strategy that I have to pull? The best way is really to allow for the body and connectedness through the body, starting with the body, so that you can hear more. Of course, you already know this. Being in silence and making sure that it's not just meditation. It's a practice. If you look at Eckhart Tolle stuff, and Victor knows this, that when you look at being in present, it's not just being in the moment by listening. It's also about, it's the spaciousness. Eckhart puts it. It's like I felt it before, where it's just like you're not just being quiet. It's not about this. It's not about the sound. It's about, when you start with the body, it's like you actually start to recognize something unfamiliar, but yet completely familiar, which is that spaciousness. It's that energy that created form in the first place, that brought in, it's the conscious universe in you, like the sun's rays, it's the rays coming to becoming conscious of itself, and kind of like it's that whole, it's that whole, you can't explain it. It's really unexplainable. It's something that words cannot really explain. You cannot define it. You cannot put it in words. You cannot substantiate it. You cannot be in this form. It's hard to explain. But you will know when it's in the silence. Many religions have gone through this. Many religions have explained this as that silence thing. But it's really that spaciousness. It's really it starts with the body, the attention, not the thought, the attention to the body, and therefore the silence. And then from there, the gates will open, and that's, when it becomes practiced, that is real awareness. Right? So when you pause, even pausing, look for those little things. It's like, oh, that's spatial awareness. So sometimes one of the things I practice doing is like, I think there's a Zen Buddhist, like he said, a Zen master, he said, hurry quietly, or hurry slowly. Or simply put, when you're doing something, don't be concerned about the outcome and just enjoy the movements. It's that energy of why there's movement. It's that energy of how there's movement. It's that energy of why Your senses are there. It's this energy of why there's creation, why there's destruction, why there's anything at all, or how there's anything at all, or what there is. It's that energy that knows beyond knowing. It's an inner knowing, inner wisdom, inner intelligence. So that's Palestine that looks towards that and says, okay, to balance all these things. Okay, I've said more in this one, and I hope that really helps. I didn't get to say it in the video because I was like, the back of my mind, I was like, oh, so concerned about the time. But anyways, it was such a pleasant, very, very pleasant conversation. We were actually like just on a roll. It was just like this flow, and just, you'll know when you connect with others. And it's that connection, that innerness, that inner thing that I'm talking about, that's connection with someone. It's not so much, it's not what we say, how we say it, when we say it, how long we say it for. It's not any of those things. But anyways, hope to do some more videos. Hope to do some more like these things. They're just like naturally super fun. It gives us joy and pleasure to be able to be in this side of analyticalness and whatever, and just have fun with it. Roll with the positive punches, so to speak, right? So, in any case, see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.